Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
And this week we are talking about the disaster film Twisters, directed by Lee Isaac Chung and released July 19th, 2024. That's
Woo!
right. Newer one, just this summer.
Yes, it came out on my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited.
And then you didn't go see it in theaters anyway.
No, and that's so bad. We were just talking before we started recording, and after watching it, I wish I had gone to the theaters to see it because it would have been so impactful.
Yeah, it was a fun theater movie for sure.
Yeah, I should have gone. I really should have gone. I didn't, and now I'm kicking myself.
Bad.
But because it's out on streaming, we can cover it on Run for Your Life, so I'm super excited about being able to cover it, especially because I did see the original in theaters. Mm-hmm. Did you go, Pake? Oh, wait.
Yes, I did. I was there.
At age 4.
Went on my own after work. You know.
Oh, so your dad had you off to work at an early age.
Of course.
Yeah. I have some questions after watching this movie. We may end up talking a little bit about your dad, about one or two of the specific thing that happened or in this. But I have to ask you before we kick things off. Do you get freaked out watching movies about tornadoes, knowing that one could strike where you live at any time?
No, not really. It's because they're such just a normal part of life here, when especially in, storm season, it's just like, and it's like that. I mean, there's parts of the year where, we had it, 2024 was an insane storm season where it really was like that, where like every day there's another one, just like somewhere else nearby. And it's just like, oh, it's time for our daily tornado. You just kind of get used to it. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much. Honestly, watching this movie, and then this movie, I will talk plenty about this, has sent me on a rabbit hole to like a new fascination and fandom of actual real life storm chasers that I, since seeing this in theaters, I've been keeping up with and watching, and like, I don't know, watching the live streams of the chasers and this movie and seeing, like, it actually helps alleviate fear, which sounds weird, especially this movie. Like, it's over fantasized. Yeah, tornadoes are absolutely deadly and dangerous. And, you've got to use, safety and stuff around them. But, for a tornado movie, you've got to up the ante a little bit and make it a lot more dramatic than it really can be. It can be awful when they hit, populated areas and stuff like El Reno at the end of this movie. And yeah, destruction and stuff like that is 100% real and happens. But just the way that storm systems work and the kind of landscape of most of the places they hit, your vast majority of tornadoes are going to be happening in more rural areas and open fields and places away from population centers. And that's what you see a lot of the chasers kind of in back roads and dirt roads and fields chasing after them. That's where a lot of it's going to happen. But no, you do have to be prepared for when cities and towns and populated areas are in the path of destruction. It happens, and that is scary. But we've all living here literally since being a little tiny kid. Like, we're taught like tornado safety and tornado drills and all that kind of stuff, so you know what to do.
Well, I am glad that it doesn't terrify you, because there are always movies like this that I'd love to cover. There's one called Into the Storm that this movie reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things. I was like, oh yeah, they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it's more just, I have a fascination with it because it's such a part of life, and especially like this. I mean, there've been times when we were recording this podcast where those alarms and stuff have gone off, and I'm like, I gotta take a break real quick and just check stuff. And I think we were just about to record. I think it was when we did Jaws 2, or maybe it was Meg 2. One of those with with Rima. Rima was with us, to where we were literally about to start recording, and I was like, hang on, let's take a break real quick. And then a few minutes went by, and then I sent you and Rima a picture from my phone that I took of the tornado down the street. Yep. You can see the funnel coming down through the clouds. I was like, there's literally a tornado right down the street, and I'm standing outside watching it. So like, yeah, it's just part of
it's, you know what? It just took its place in traffic, continued to go down the road.
Yeah.
I wonder if it knows how to parallel park.
Probably not. Nobody here does.
I've been there, and yeah, that was never anything I had to pay attention to. Well, we'll move on and jump into covering this film with a few of our production notes. It was filmed in Oklahoma City, El Reno, and Yukon, Oklahoma. It was a standalone sequel to Twister and released 28 years after the original film. I can't believe it's been that long. Lee Isaac Chung? He's pretty popular. He actually directed the Oscar-nominated Minari, which is such an incredible film. Yep. For him to go from that to this, I'm just like, wow. He pulled this off really well, I thought. So
yeah, I think I know people who were really excited, me included, I guess, to an extent. I was going to go see this anyway, but people who aren't usually as much into like the disaster movies and action movies were like, but it's it's Lee Isaac Chung, so I want to see what he does with this genre and this story. So there were, I do know of people who saw it in theaters because of the director, and curious to see his take on it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it really shows that he can do a variety of things, and so I want to see more. I want to see more in this world, in the Run for Your Lives world. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be disaster. It could be something else that fits. I want to see more of him for sure.
Yeah.
The budget was between 150 and 200 million, depending on who you ask. It grossed 351.4 million at the box office. It's 122 minutes long. Pake, give us that synopsis.
Kate Carter, a retired tornado chaser and meteorologist, is persuaded to return to Oklahoma to work with a new team and new technologies.
Yes. Okay, well, I think that represents it well.
Mm-hmm.
This movie had a decent cast, I think.
Absolutely.
Some of the cast that I was looking forward to seeing didn't make it very long in the movie. But then there were others that popped up that it was just really cool to see. It wasn't like there were all these huge names. It was just that there were a lot of good names.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like people that I've seen in other things. And so it was great to see them all together in this movie.
Yeah. I was honestly surprised. So I'll talk about just to that point that I was curious to see how this movie would go, right? Like, I was going to go see it anyway because, I mean, I knew we were going to cover it. And, and then, of course, the nostalgia of like, oh, Twister was so good. What can they do with a new version, an updated one? Is it going to be as good? And honestly, I really loved it. It was a surprise that I loved it as much as I did, but it was really, really good. Maybe it was the nostalgia mixed with like the updated technology and science and kind of culture around storm chasing and tornado. But it made me interested, for sure, to really dive into that stuff. But then just itself as a movie, I was like, I didn't expect it to be that good. I was like, I figured it'd be like, for nostalgia's sake. And I like left that theater going like, holy shit, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think I love this movie.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I was hoping for the best. I wasn't sure what we were going to get. Sometimes these post, decades sequels that come out are good, and sometimes they're terrible, and I was really concerned as to what we were going to get. And then there were a bunch of like rumors in the background of they're bringing back Jo. She's going to be in this one. Oh no, they're not bringing her back. Because of course Bill Paxton passed away, and so there was no way that his character would be able to reappear. There was talk that the main character would be the daughter of Jo, but I like the way it turned out, where it really is standalone. It isn't really connected.
Yeah, there's no connection to the first one other than early on in the movie, they have, Kate and her friends have somehow acquired the Dorothy system that they used in the first movie. That's the only connection, is they have that.
Yeah, I appreciated it. I didn't need for the same story to be retold. This had some things in it that paid homage, I think, to the original, but there were a lot of things that were very distinct just for this film, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah. And maybe what it was is the storm chaser element. This was a movie for them, about them. I mean, Twister, the original one, also was, as far as the fact that your main group of characters were a team of storm chasers.
Yes.
But, this movie did more. It took that idea and, really dug into the personalities and the culture and the science and reasoning behind why people are storm chasers, the kind of personalities that I would say hobby, but no job. These people have full-time jobs doing this. They're professional storm chasers, and the importance of what they do and how it can be used to make changes scientifically, culturally, to early warning systems, all of these things that job has really made a huge change in people's lives over the years.
Yeah, I like that it shined the lens on it too. I think that often we see news reports on TV and it shows you, well, this is happening and there are tornadoes here, and you don't always think about the people that are on the ground doing the work and the research to help with a warning system, to help with studying, the science of the tornado.
Yeah.
And what it can do. You don't always think about it.
No.
You see the destruction. That's, a big focus point, but to get this lens on the storm chasers in this way, I really liked.
Yeah. And I was aware of storm chasers. I mean, again, being here in Texas and this area, there are storm chasers. I had a friend who was a storm chaser, unfortunately passed away years ago, unrelated to storm chasing, but just remember talking with him at times about just why do you do that? What do you get at? Just the adrenaline, and he was such this alive personality that was really cool. And so knowing about that and then seeing the way it was portrayed in this movie, it really did. I left the theater, went got on my phone, Google who are the top people I need to be checking out, and then went home and spent the next 4 hours just on a rabbit hole of stuff. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Full transparency, I actually tried to reach out to this guy to get an interview or something on this podcast, and I haven't heard back yet. So I was like, how much do I want to talk about? Because if we get a chance to, I would actually rather hear it from him, but it might not work out. So I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, and then maybe we edit stuff around, or people be like, oh, we heard this before, but now you can hear it from them. Well, I don't know. We'll see. No promises, but trying to see what I can do. But I found this guy by the name of Reed Temmer, who basically, while not like 100% confirmed, yeah, he is the real life storm chaser personality in a way that Glenn Powell's character of Tyler Owens is loosely based on. Because he's very similar in a lot of those ways. He's not like a super cowboy country guy with a truck, but that energy and child just screaming and yelling oh my god, here we go. That's definitely him. And he live streams all of his chases and all of those. So I've gone on and watched streams, and he does all kinds of really cool videos and puts things together, and it's just incredibly amazing and incredible and enthralling to watch what he does. And so going to his YouTube, I was going to break down some stuff. I'm like, no, I want people to go watch his stuff and hear it from him. But over on his YouTube channel, just search Reed Temmer, meteorologist or whatever. You'll find his stuff. But he's got a YouTube video that came out after this movie that I watched it that night when I came home, where he kind of talks the facts and fiction and breaks things down about the reality of stuff versus kind of movie magic and movie myth. So I'll, give some hints of some of the stuff he talks about, but to actually hear a lot of it, you got to go to him. But some of those highlights, the twin tornadoes, I will give you, he talks they don't separate like that. Twin tornadoes happen, but that was kind of, the way that those worked. Not quite, because they have to be part of the same storm system and stuff. But then other stuff that he talks about, his own personal times of using rockets on tornadoes. That is something he does and has
goodness.
done. Let's see. The truth of the safety of an overpass, which we will also talk about, I'm sure. His own vehicle that he drives directly into tornadoes and parks right under there. He's got something called the Dominator. It is a 6-ton vehicle, 12,000 pounds. And unlike the augers, he has these kind of the spikes that were on the PAR systems that into the ground, those compression, those hydraulic spikes, it's more those, and it's also flush to the ground. He can drop it to where there's no wind that can get under it and lift it. And he'll just sit there and let one go over him, or he'll go into the center of it. I've watched streams and videos of him doing it.
Oh my
it's insane. Talks about storm chasers and streaming the chases and kind of their personalities and all of the kind of stereotypes, what's real. I want to say what isn't. They nailed it pretty much in this movie. A lot of these people really are like that, and gathering in gas station parking lots, and all of that. It talks about firenadoes, talks about his ideas and thoughts about disrupting and stopping tornadoes like they do in this movie. A lot of really cool stuff to check out, and he's also got a series he's doing right now on there called Twister's IRL, where he's putting together compilations and footage and stuff of their actual running around through Oklahoma this past year with the just storm after storm after storm after storm. It really was like this movie, where it was just an unprecedented every day this year. And so that's been really cool to watch, is he's put together a lot of things of just him and some of his other chasers in the team and around him doing what they did in this movie. And it's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. To me, it seems terrifying to be out there and in the middle of everything, just risking your life almost. I mean, really, no, not almost. Risking your life.
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
It just seems crazy. But you know what? Everyone has something that they love to do.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's something that's a lot more adrenaline involved versus me being a photographer and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or a podcaster. It's
I'm trying to
interesting.
think. I've got other notes of him thrown in with stuff, so I'm trying to get so I'm not just also with Reed, because I'm such a fanboy right now. But so get it out of the way.
You really?
Let's see, where else. I had something. About Ben, the journalist, riding along after this movie again. Reed put out something. He's just yeah, I'll take a journalist along. We could do that.
I don't know, Pake. How do you feel? Do you want to go along?
So I actually have a note. I said I would be lying if I didn't say I'm a little jealous. I actually think I'd love to do it. especially the more that I watch Team Dominator online and stuff that they do, I'm like, I actually really wish I could go on a chase with them. I think it would be really fun. I would trust myself in the hands of the professionals. Like I think watching enough of his stuff, I'm like, I'm not the one in control. It's like if I'm just in the back seat and let him do his thing, I think I would trust him to have me along if it ever. I was like, I think it would be really fun. I'd like to do it.
Yeah, I can see where it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think I'd want to do it.
I'm not driving myself into the middle of a tornado, but if somebody like him is behind the wheel, sure, let's do it.
Well, we've started this podcast in a way that we never start our podcast, which is basically going through a bunch of stuff before we start talking about characters. Right. But I think it's fine because there's a lot that goes on with this. And so one more thing I want to add before we start going through characters is I want to talk, I got a couple of notes about the visual effects that we see that I kind of would like to share at the top, and then we'll start with characters. So, they created the tornadoes using some visual effects, reference, footage from Supercell Cloud, a whole bunch of little things. Real tornadoes that were shot by technical consultants, including storm chaser Sean Casey. They had wind fans running at about 70 miles per hour, 2 jet engines operating further away from the sets at 180 miles an hour, dump tanks, high-pressure pneumatic water cannons, and polyacrylamide for hail.
So they put the actors through it.
Mm-hmm. They did. It made me think a little bit of Society of the Snow, where they had the actors in there jerking everything around. I'm like, oh, they were throwing everything at them. Industrial Light and Magic did the effects for this. The director said that the most challenging part about making it was the balancing of the tone, because he wanted to make sure audiences were entertained while also taking natural disasters seriously.
Yeah. And I think that balance was done really well because, again, just a note that I can go ahead and read, because I was like, between Tyler and Kate and honestly this movie and then even real storm chasers that I've watched and stuff, they are incredible at what they do in the way that they manage to make tornadoes seem beautiful. Like, yes, they're still deadly, dangerous, horrifying, but I love when they're going after the twin tornadoes and Kate, and it cuts back and forth between Kate and Tyler explaining. That scene is one of my favorites because it's like, it's the science and mystery all wrapped into one that makes it like truly magnificent and just like something that really just gets into your head and you're like, I'm just enthralled and fascinated by it all.
It is fascinating, though. One of the other things that they did is they shot it on Kodak 35mm film, which is kind of it honors the original movie. They wanted to capture the same natural colors and vibrancy of the scenery and what they brought to life. There's so many other things, but I feel like we need to jump in and start talking about the characters, or we're just going to skip over characters for this one, and we're just going to talk about everything. We're not even talking about the movie, really. We're just talking about the twisters, which they never say twister or twisters in this movie. It's always tornado.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the characters, or we'll just give up and not talk about them at all and just continue to talk and nerd out about tornadoes.
I'm good with either way.
I knew you would be, but I feel like we have to get on board. Got to steer back. This isn't Buffalo.
Got a movie to talk about.
Yes, we do.
All right. So, I think obviously the place to start is Kate.
Yes.
It's who we start with, who we end with. The synopsis was about her. So, in the opening, as we get with her, we have her and her friends. Mentioned they have Dorothy. But then they've also come up with their own little system. Addie says diaper. to pull the moisture out to try to destroy and disrupt a tornado. This is this experiment and this idea that Kate has that she's trying to get a grant for. Dorothy's there to kind of monitor how and if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Has those sensors up in there, so you're taking the old technology, mixing it with the new, kind of what this movie does in general, which is cool.
Yeah.
Of course, the tornado that they end up dealing with was not what they were expecting. They're like, for this little experiment, there's like, we need an EF0, 1. That's about it. And they come up with an EF5 instead. Of course, EF, or the Enhanced Fujita Scale of tornadoes, is based on... And it's weird because even like Tyler has a thing, it's like, it's not about speed or size. And I was like, well, it is about wind speed as far as like how you kind of mark them as it's happening. But he's also true that like they're really... Like the wind speed is kind of how you can tell as it's happening. Like, oh, this is going to be EF whatever. But the main way of rating that scale is the destruction caused. So...
Yes.
That is true as well. Yeah, they're hoping for something small, and yeah, instead wound up with face-to-face with something much more massive and deadly than they were expecting. Car gets stalled, and so they have to choose to stay there or head to an overpass. The car would definitely be destroyed, so like you got to go with the alternative, which, as Kate mentions, is still a really bad idea. It's just the best they have. Which...
Impossible options, really.
Yeah. In the past 28 years since Twister came out, and Twister's like, because again, it's been a little bit since I watched that, but there's like a whole overpass thing. It's like, we're safe there. And it's like, as time has gone on, it's like, actually, overpasses are more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Because they act as a wind tunnel that increases the speed of the wind ripping through it, making it even deadlier with debris and things. It's something called the Bernoulli effect.
I'm gonna file that away in my head because that's gonna come up at trivia someday, and I'll know it.
Yeah, I mean, they had the right idea with what they had, trying to wedge themselves up at the top. That would be the best idea. Still ended tragically. Which I remember the first time watching this in theaters, I was like, I figured one person on the team was gonna die. I didn't expect Kate to be the sole survivor of the overpass.
Yep. And Javi, her friend Javi, wasn't even on site.
He was on the computer further away.
Because Dorothy took flight, he was tracking the data.
Mm-hmm.
But she and her boyfriend, Jeb, and her other two friends were not as lucky. Kate got seriously hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, she didn't see Praveen get sucked up. But we get to see it. Mm-hmm. We get to see him pulled in. And then Addie, unfortunately, she tries to save Addie, but Addie just gets pulled away. And then Jeb pushes her deep into and just like puts her in a position so that she has the best chance of survival. But then he's holding her, and the next second he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put myself in that situation and was just like, how do you feel when your friends are ripped away from you, basically? People that you love and care about are just, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
You probably never found their bodies. Like, they're just gone. And you see a completely different person 5 years later.
Yeah, she's taken off from Oklahoma. She's taken off to New York. She's working at the National Weather Service there. A lot less tornado trauma in New York. Where she's, kind of like this tornado whisperer. She's really good at, watching and monitoring storm systems and being able to predict what's going to happen just by kind of looking at things. It's real storm chasers. Again, to kind of go into that, like, that's what they do, is they look at the weather maps and they go, we need to be in this state, in this city area at this time. Like, they can mark it and stuff and be like, here's how things are going. That's where we're going. And so she's able to really predict and mark what places are under the most danger of tornadoes. While she's there, her old friend Javi tracks her down. He's got a proposition of his own. He's running. He owns this company. He has started Stormpar, which is his company using the military scanners that he worked with. And the way that he talks about it, which, he's not wrong. It is a part of what he's doing, is using these scanners to get tornado data and help with early detection, warning systems, all that stuff that they've been working on. But then there might be some other stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that early on.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, is this something? I'm not sure it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, but he needs someone as talented as Kate with chasing to help. Goes to her, it's like, you're going to be the one that's going to get this done as quick as possible so we can get what we need. And takes a little bit of convincing, but she does go along. Kind of made me think of Wendell and Wild, a little bit when Kat drives back into town and she's looking at the guardrail where the accident happened. It's like the same thing. Like they're driving back into town, into Oklahoma, and it's like under the overpass. And she's like looking up and it's just all of this stuff flooding back to her.
Yeah. And she hadn't been home. Like that was one thing. Her mother had told Javi that she never goes home. Like, she never goes back to her hometown. Because she's scarred, and you can tell there's a sense of sadness about her.
Yeah.
She's working in the weather service. She's very smart. But she just... To me, it just seems like something is missing. Like, she's just...
Well, yeah, and as we learn later on, when she's talking with Tyler, like... The failure of that initial experiment and the loss of her friends, like, she blames herself for that. The failure of her experiment, she blames for the deaths of her friends. She's like, that happened because I had an idea and I was wrong. Mm-hmm. And so she's holding on to that. So she's kind of that grief and guilt and shame and whatever. Like, she literally ran from it all the way to the other end of the country.
Yep. I mean, what do you do, though? I mean, that's how some people deal with trauma like this. And I think that she did what she had to do, which was get out of the situation and get away from the reminders. Because I think even though she was in New York, it was still eating her. And I think had she stayed in Oklahoma, it would have eaten her alive. Like, she would have gone into an even worse depression.
Uh-huh.
Because she lost her friends, her boyfriend, her, something she loved so much was this project. Like, all of these things meant so much to her, and to have all of it ripped away, I think she had to leave in order to give herself or preserve what was left of her sanity after.
Yeah. So it's a lot for her to just get thrown right back into it. Doesn't go home, doesn't have like a downtime. It's like, all right, we're in Oklahoma, we go to the gas station, and now there's a bunch of chasers, and your whole old life is just here around you.
Yep, you're facing it. You're facing your fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because later on, Tyler has this quote where he's like, tornadoes and bulls are the same thing. Fear's the reason you do it. You don't face your fears, you ride them. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she was faced with everything right in front of her.
Yeah.
All at once.
Mm-hmm. Just thrown back in, meeting the Storm Power team and everybody else there. And then, of course, Tyler and his Tornado Wrangler team showing up and meeting him. It was such an interesting... I love the character of Tyler Owens. I love Glenn Powell in this movie. So great. But, just because he's like annoying at first. And you're like, oh my God, what a douchebag. And then as the movie goes on, by the end, you just fall in love with him as a character. You're like, oh no, he's like the greatest person ever.
He is. Because I thought at first he was like Jonas.
Yeah.
Like from the original Twister. I'm like, oh God, we got another Jonas. But things were different.
Honestly, the Stormpar people really were the Jonas of this movie.
Yeah. They were. And that's what flipped it around, because I was looking at it like, okay, so Kate's working for the Jonas type people because they have all the money. And then you go over here and you've got Tyler and he's got the RV. I loved having an RV again. It just it brought me back to the whole thing that we saw back, with just Philip Seymour Hoffman and his little group and Alan Ruck and all of them. It just brought me back to that by seeing that RV, because I loved the little group of people that were part of that. Like, it was just
like ragtag team of outcasts.
Yes.
Who are just all creative personalities and interesting people. And
those are the people I would gravitate towards first.
Oh,
just because
absolutely.
those are my people. The ones that are just, you know what? We're the island of the misfit toys and we don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it.
It's great. Tyler keeps referring to Kate as City Girl throughout the movie until he, like, at the rodeo learns her backstory. And I was like, come on. Her accent should have immediately given her away. Like, yeah, she's coming from New York, but clearly she was raised in the South. Like, that's so easy to pick up on. I don't know.
Yeah. I wondered how perceptive he could be if he couldn't pick up on that. Uh-huh. But he is perceptive in a whole bunch of other things. Like, he really cared for her. And the fact that they didn't create this big romance the whole time, I have to tell you, at the end of the movie, I was expecting a kiss, and we didn't get one, and I was so grateful.
Yeah. Like, I mean, clearly they, like...
They like
do
each other.
kind of get closer. Like, you see... But it's not important.
Right.
To the movie.
Loved it.
And they know that. They're like, if you want to run with that, that's great. If you want to read into that, that's great. But, like, at the end of the day, they're two professionals who have found a common bond and goal over what they do. And they really are great as a team together. Yes,
and that's why they didn't... they had filmed an end scene with kissing, but they chose not to do it for the very same reason that you just said, that they bonded over a shared love of storm chasing and tornadoes and the science behind it. But I loved the flip-flop of, oh, no, Tyler, he's not the Jonas. He's more of the Joe. And I liked it. Because I was looking for all the different little things that would be like the original movie. And I liked all of that flipping around.
Yeah.
Because it was unexpected, because you look at something and think, okay, this is how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then it's not that. It's nice when it works out that way.
Yeah. And so we're talking about Kate thrown back into stuff, and it seems overwhelming, but honestly, she steps right back into gear pretty quickly. The first mission was a failure because she panicked, and I'm not going to blame her for having this trepidation and trauma. Like, absolutely. Yeah. But, like, when she's, like, following the wind patterns and, like, even trying to throw Tyler off the scent, being like, using the scientific facts of, like, that's the one you need to go after. And then there's like, haha, he fell for it, go. And just trying to, she's already back into that mode and making those right calls. You'd think they'd learn to believe that she's right about anything sooner than they did.
Yeah, but they didn't.
Nope. But the first one doesn't go off very well because she panics. And then even the second time, the scanners are up in place and in time, but one of them has technical difficulties and gets pulled up into the tornado, which I use the term pulled up, not sucked up, which is typically said because tornadoes don't actually suck anything up. That's not how tornadoes work. They lift.
I'm not going to say what I just thought in my head. Oh, man.
Yeah. It's kind of another one of those, like, misnomer kind of things. It was just like, sucked up by the tornado. It's like, no, they lift. It's vertical wind forces, but there's no suction to it. This wind gets under objects and like a kite kind of lifts them and carries them on the current.
Pulls them away, yeah.
Which then leads to even this movie, as more realistic as it is in some things, still has some of those visual elements that are less realistic, but you have to add to the drama and horror of a tornado movie. Like, you see people, like you mentioned, their friend at the beginning kind of gets sucked backwards, or even the truck at the hotel getting, like, sucked into the air. It's like, that's not really how it works, but I mean...
that's what it looks like. It looks like when you're looking at what they show you in the movie, it looks like he's sucked in, but if you, after explaining it, it can be described as being pulled in.
Yeah, I mean, a strong enough tornado is going to lift people and cars off the ground. And then, of course, then they get caught in the wind, the vertical wind, like, current and pulled into the vortex. Yeah, that's going to happen. If you...
Yeah. But Pake, it's going to take a long time for me to switch. But But now that I know, I'm going to think about it just a little bit more.
Yeah. There's no cows in this one, but we got chickens.
No. Yep. Lots and lots of feathers on the truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see Kate with like this code of a good chaser where if you're in a position to help people in need after the effects of tornado, you do.
Yes.
Again, I don't want to too much on the like Reed Timmer stuff, but go watch it, people. His Twisters IRL series, they have part of that is like watching a tornado rip through a house, and then after the tornado kind of moves its way and it's clear, they pull up to the house and immediately get out of the car and are starting to yell, "Is anybody there? Anybody need help? Everybody okay?" Like, that's the first thing you got to do. If you're there, you do it.
Well, and Kate has these preconceived notions about Tyler and his group because they're selling t-shirts in the aftermath of a tornado. But
yeah, which optically, looks kind of bad. But then it's talking with Lily that clears that up.
It's like, it's a food box. Like, they put together these little food boxes for people so they have something to eat after. Yeah, and then they're also, they're part of recovery and supporting people. Yeah,
you learn that the merch sales are going to buy food and supplies for people that are affected by the storms, which honestly is really kind of touching. Like, it affected me when I watched it in theaters. I'll be full honest, like, I got a little teary thinking about it even here. I was like, that's beautiful. You take the position you're in and you do good for those around you. Like, I was like, it's that scene where the idea and mindset of Tyler and the tornado wranglers really flips in your head, or at least with mine, where I was like,
yes.
I remember even in theaters talking to myself, like, after she was like, "Why do you think we sell all this stuff?" It's like, so the food is free, we can help people. And I was like, in my head, just went, oh shit, these are the really good guys. These are the you know.
But I think when you go into this movie and you're thinking about, I don't know, I was so on this Jonas world. Like, they're going to be like Jonas. But then at some point it flips because you see that. But then she kind of also starts to realize that things aren't necessarily what they seem with Javi's company. Because it looks on the outside like they're doing great things to help people, but then she learns more about them. And this particular guy that Riggs, who he's got as an investor, and she realizes after doing research that he's taking advantage of people. It looks like he's being a good guy by, taking care of things, but the point is,
he's like swooping in and giving them the bare minimum amount of money and buying their land, like, because they have no other options. It's like, well, your business, your home, your land, everything's been destroyed. So here, I'll buy it from you, and then you have money to pick up and start somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's just like he's taking advantage of them in like a scared and terrible position with nothing after they've just lost everything in tragedy. And then all he's going to do is then own that land, rebuild it back up, and then sell it again for a higher price or do whatever, renovate. And
he's a developer. He's a
developer and a vulture on these people. And then he's using Stormpar to parse out, where to go. Follow the storms, follow these, get intel on people, what communities that I can swoop in, and maybe even to the point where he can then get data to go in and go like, in the next 2 years, there's going to be a deadly storm that's going to swing through here. So why don't you go ahead and sell up all your land now so you don't have to lose it,
Exactly. And Scott, who is Javi's business partner, is all on board with that. Like, he's part of the problem. He just is like, I've got to go talk to these people because there's a store owner over here. I've got to talk to him. Like, he's involved in it, and you see everything, and she figures it out, and she basically, tells Javi, like, she's done. Like, she points it out.
Yeah. It's not the code that she kind of lives by. It's like, that's not helping people. What really, when she's seeing the destruction of that town, it does make her think back to that experiment she was working on. I mean, that guilt is still there, but now that she's been using like the PAR data, she's like, she asks Javi before that little moment you mentioned of like, wait, do the readings that we did get on that one, will it tell us how it died out? And it's like, we might be able to use that information to revisit and tweak our earlier models, and we can maybe pick up on this experiment. She's thinking about it. Of course, after realizing stuff about Javi and everything, she again just kind of retreats home and is kind of shut off from the things. And that's, we'll talk about Tyler, but like that's where he really becomes the hero of this movie in a couple of ways, like even kind of a personal hero. Like I won't say like, she wasn't able to do anything without this man coming into her life, but he really was kind of that spark that was able to reignite what she needed.
He was able to pull things out of her that she hadn't thought about or felt in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And by her talking about how she felt about losing her friends, I think that really was therapeutic for her.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much she had talked about it, and she definitely needed to. But he starts, it's just little words he says, and just gets her thinking about things to the point where he's getting ready to leave, and she, she's like, okay, all right, let's do this. I loved her little model of like the little community with the little houses, how she had it set up so she could do these tests. I thought that was really clever. It was her middle school science project. I'm like, middle school, okay.
She's smart. She was a smart kid, smart woman.
Very smart.
Man. Yeah, before all of that, of course, though, I would talk about the rodeo and the pool scene and things like that. A little bit backtrack. The rodeo scene and that stuff was actually really heartwarming to me. It was just to see like them and like learning backstory and stuff, but also just on a personal level. I'm sure I've mentioned it here. My dad runs a buck out rodeo thing regularly around here, or he did. He hasn't the past few months, likely won't the rest of this year, at least while he's battling cancer. But I'm hopeful that he will get back to it soon, and I definitely need to get out there when he does, because I've always kind of meant to. And then with this going on, and especially just seeing that, it was like this little place in my heart. I was like, all right, when he's back up on his feet and he's going to take this back over, it's like, I need to start going to some of his rodeos.
You do. I think it would be fun for you to connect with your dad that way. I thought of you and your dad immediately when he takes her to the rodeo. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is, I had no idea that Tyler used to, was a bull rider or did any of those things until he started talking about it. And I'm like, well, it kind of does make sense. It's kind of an adrenaline rush to do that. But I definitely thought of you right away because of your dad and his association with the rodeo. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a lot of my childhood. So, yeah,
you got to get back to that. Sometimes it's good to go back to something from childhood just for fun.
Oh yeah.
But I love that she finally says to him, "This ain't my first rodeo." I loved it. I was like, yes, it's so true.
She's from around here, and then of course follow up all of that like nicety with the most like intense scenes of the movie, which. The one scene that real storm chasers are going to complain about.
Oh boy, okay.
What do we? The surprise tornado at the rodeo.
Oh my gosh.
Never would have happened. Yeah, never would have happened that way. It would have not have snuck up on them. People, especially Tyler, there would have had their radars and alerts and everything up on their phone, and would have already in like when that these storm systems are coming in daily. Like, even if you're like, it should be clear, they're gonna be checking. Like, there would have been enough warning in advance of people checking on things, looking like, tornado's not gonna sneak up on, surprise, I'm here. But it made for a great, tense, shift to add to the drama and suspense of the movie. So, yeah.
Yeah. I wondered about that. You know what? It reminded me of the drive-in scenes that we got in the first film, where they had to run and hide in the big metal building.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh. It did remind me again, it's these little things that seem like little like, throwbacks to the original. I felt like Tyler taking her there and just sharing that much of himself with her did a lot to help her trust him.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, because he brings her a pizza, thought she might be hungry, and she shuts the door in his face.
Yeah. But he stayed outside for a few minutes.
He did.
Moments until she comes back.
Sometimes you have to be a little persistent.
He's very persistent, but...
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't say in a bad way, though.
No.
Yeah,
Again,
he definitely grows on you over the movie, for sure.
I think he admired her because she was so smart. And I think he wanted to connect with her about the tornadoes and chasing and everything.
Yeah, I mean, he immediately could pick up on how she knew what she was doing and how self-confident she was.
Yeah. I mean, she's just in tune with him. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, with the hotel and stuff there, we get the douchey bad review, quote-unquote, couple. Because we needed some casualties to add to the weight of the movie, but we had to make it people that kind of sucked, so we didn't feel so bad. That's how that worked, I think.
Yeah, and the guy that was complaining and going to give the bad review, that actor is James Paxton, the son of Bill Paxton.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, a connection. I love connections, even if he didn't listen.
No.
Why do people not listen? I don't get it. They just can't listen. It's just a thing. They're just not able to do it.
Yeah. And then the pool scene after that was also super intense. Bravo. I love the way that was done. Although, again, the truck getting sucked in the tornado, it kind of looked like, I was like, it was a little much, but they played it off a little bit later with, like, the reality a little better, like I was talking about with the hotel worker. You know, he has that moment, it's like he just wouldn't stay low to the ground, and then so you see where this draft gets under him, and there he goes.
Pulls him up. But you can see why people would think he was getting sucked in. I mean, just because the way it looks like.
Yeah.
But still, too, I'm working to retrain my brain now. It's going to be a process.
Yeah. Semantics. Yeah, and then we talked about kind of her conversation with Javi after. How about losing 3 of my best friends while you were trying to land a big fat grant for your science project? Ooh. Javi fucked up with that one. She literally steals his truck and drives home.
Yeah. I really liked when she went into the barn and you think she's walking in, and you basically are walking into, we get this shaken cam video that Jeb was taking.
Yeah.
Of her about their work, and I liked that.
The day before the opening scene.
Yeah, and I liked it because I felt like we were getting a glimpse into something.
Yeah. Like at the end of that where he says, this is what it's like to be inside a tornado. And I was like, well, you found out for real the next day.
Yeah.
Too soon? I don't know.
Yes, way too soon. Way too soon. I feel like Kate really came to life in this movie. I mean, we see her in the beginning and she's so passionate and excited. And then 5 years later, we see her, you know, basically still feeling all the pain and the hurt and blaming herself. And then we see her come alive again. I feel like this entire movie was about Kate coming to life again.
Yeah. That was good.
And realizing her passion and that it's okay to move beyond what happened to her and her friends. Yeah.
And I also really like the surprise Maura Tierney as Kate's mom, Kathy.
Yes. Maura Tierney is wonderful. I think I first saw her in ER ages ago. And she was great then, and she's just as great now.
Absolutely. She's been doing some fun stuff recently besides this movie, and then she was also another mother in The Iron Claw.
Yes.
So
Which is not a movie that we can cover on here because it really doesn't fit, but I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah. Kathy warms up to Tyler way faster than Kate does. Met him like 10 minutes ago and you're already telling the ran out naked into the wheat field story. So.
Oh, man. Man. I felt for her because, you know, moms, it's what they do. They tell the stories, the embarrassing stories.
Yep.
You know, it's just, they just have to share the ridiculous things.
Yeah.
They can't keep quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you mentioned, I think, her being home does bring a lot of life back into her. Especially, again, give some credit to Tyler. Again, that conversation they had where, I mean, blaming herself for the things that happened. And instead, like, again, he's, like, being very persistent. And it's kind of annoying to her at first, but then, like, she sees what it is. Like, he's supportive of her research, and he's like, look, what you were doing was incredible. Like, the OG tornado wranglers, like, what I'm doing, you're doing better before. And he's like, and with newer technology, and we have better connections to other people, it's like, this actually might be doable. And he believes in her, and he talks her back into, like, we can do that. And then we see them go out and try it out. And you see her again, just like the wonder she has, the holy shit, and taking pictures. Isn't it beautiful? As they're chasing this tornado. And it's like, you see, like, he's managed to bring out this wide-eyed, excited dreamer that she used to be. Like, he's crucial to this reinvigorated sense of adventure and duty to learn and help. Like, she's once again inspired to tame a tornado. Like, he's found that dream and reopened it there.
Yeah. I loved watching her blossom that way and start to let go of some of the pain and really focus on, okay, we could do something good. We can do something good. Which I know Javi was trying to do with his company, but I do feel like Kate just needed to reconnect with herself. Yeah. And she needed someone to say, it's okay. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be upset. It's okay. What happened to you was not your fault. It was just a situation, and it's okay to move on. And I feel like she never really felt that before.
Yeah. Has that one, and then throws her right back into it. Literally. I like the moment where she's just like, are we going to put it in the path? And it's like, well, no. And it's like, it was a good point. It's like, you can't miss the tornado from the center of it. That's where going in. And she's just like, oh no, what have I done? But then after it happens, like, she realizes, she's like, wow, like, that's incredible. Of course, then she's like, does it work? And we realized that no, it was another failure. However, this one is a lot easier to just kind of take on the chin and get right back to the drawing board. But yeah, she realizes, like, they've still got to tweak some stuff. And then that's when Javi comes back in and starts his redemption arc, because goes to retrieve his truck. But then in good faith, he supplies Kate with all of the Stormpar 3D scans. And then her and Tyler can use that to upgrade their model. And they realize they need more precipitation and all this. I was like, I'm not going to get into the science of all of it. However, again, read Timmer talking about it and looking into some stuff. It seems the science is logical, and it could be employed in real experiments in the future. Reed talks about it in the video where he's just like, I might actually try to do this at some point. It's not really a sustainable plan that could be implemented, like, affordably, versus just putting more research and thought into better warning systems. Because to actually have that kind of equipment and chemicals and stuff for every tornado that comes near a town, like, it's just astronomically. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. It's not sustainable, but it's something that chasers and weather services could dive into and begin to build off of something. Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
It's definitely probably more based in science than the original movie.
Yeah, but it's interesting that this movie has implemented science fiction that logically certain people have looked at and go like, I mean, maybe we could try that. Like, it could work.
It could work. Yeah. Yeah, you never know. Mm-hmm. You never know.
Yeah, and then like Kate just adopts Tyler and his whole team into her research. It's just like, they're the new team that she's working with, and she's kind of heading that up. Which, is great. Ben has a new intriguing story to be a part of now. I like Ben, the journalist. He's fun.
Poor Ben. I feel like he ran the gamut in this. I don't know that he knew what he was getting into.
At least kind of this last tornado that they deal with, which is rain-wrapped, catching people off guard with its strength. gives her some of those negative flashbacks of that fateful day 5 years ago. Like, this time she's better equipped, but still, it's like a lot of the situation is similar. Where it's like, it's bigger than they thought it would be. They get into the storm and it's all rain-wrapped. Technical term there. I mean, you can't see what's going on because of just... And next thing they know, it's like, oh shit, it's on us. And there's debris and it's kind of a repeat of what happened before. Except even bigger and worse. Runs through an oil plant, causing explosions, and then funnels that fire up into it. Fire NATO! And it's huge, and it gets out of hand, shifts towards the town of El Reno, and the safety of the people there becomes number one priority, again, which I like. But it's like, can we get into town, get people sheltered? Because then it's like, well, it's now or never. Later on, we see with the experiment, she's like, I'm going to have to destroy this monstrosity, or like, a lot of people are going to die.
She took it upon herself to do it. She didn't talk to Tyler about it. She just went.
Well, she really loves stealing guys' trucks, so whatever opportunity she gets to do that.
Kleptomania. It's a thing.
Yeah, but she was there in town long enough to
help. You know, they did a lot to help
some people. And there's some kind of final destination hell going on, trying to take out Tyler, but Kate was able to stay back and help him, and then Javi arrives at the perfect time to make that successful.
With the lever that calls back to the beginning of the movie where they had to use a lever to lift things up. Yeah. It's great. Man, it was great.
The movie theater, definitely not the safest choice, but better than nothing at all. Again, kind of like the overpass, where it's like, it's not great, but it's what we have, and it's better than nothing.
Yeah. That was terrifying, watching that building start to fall apart. And you could see that the tornado had not even hit, and they were already in trouble. I mean, the screen part had ripped away, and... I mean, if she hadn't done it, she would have lost more people.
Oh, absolutely. She
had to do it.
Yeah, and she goes off for it. It's like, well, the new rockets and the chemical formula and stuff, it better work, because she's going in. And yeah, it does work. I am surprised that none of the main characters died in this movie.
I expected it.
Like, I'm honestly really good with it, but, like, I'm surprised that, like, all of the, like, main members of the teams all make it out, good or bad. I mean, if her plan hadn't worked, it would have been a very different story. But
yeah. But I feel like also we lost a lot at the beginning of the movie. So, it's like, okay, maybe not kill everyone. Only the people who don't listen.
Yeah.
they go.
Yeah, but yes, it works out. It's great. She's going to return to New York with her findings, and then Tyler's pretty much told, like, you should chase. And we get the kind of a twister on the classic rom-com style. You got to go after the girl at the airport.
Yes.
But you've got Paul Scheer bitching at you about your parking, so you've got to auger the truck down first.
Yep,
you know?
You do.
Not that any of that really mattered, because it's kind of funny. They get in there, and then the flights are immediately delayed because of the storm anyway. And then I think, you know, like, it cuts off then, but you see them turn around and walk back out. Like, obviously, they saw that storm system. It was like, want to go back to the truck and do one last chase? We got some time to kill. Yeah. Like,
that, I thought he was going to kiss her, and then he didn't. And then I thought he was going to do it because he went inside, and then he didn't. I was like, thank you for not doing that, because it doesn't. Not every movie has to be about a relationship that's romantic. It can be about two people who share similar interests, vibing off the fact that they share similar interests. Like, I expect they probably do get together. Okay, that's fine. But I'm okay with them not being a couple at the end of this.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that, you know, we get like some mid-credits kind of just stuff thrown in where
I did too.
Kate
Ben's
joins
article.
The Tornado Wrangler team, and then his article and everything, and but she's officially part of the team. Who knows, maybe she'll get her face on a t-shirt soon. But it was one of those things I'm like thinking is like, if you would have told me, which I don't want spoilers, so don't you fucking dare tell me, but no, you know, if you would have told me, or if I would have been able to tell myself, like, the first time we see Tyler and his crew roll up to that gas station and you introduced his character, that at the end of the movie, Kate would be joining his team and you'd be like, yay! Like, how did we get to that, you know?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened. And yet it did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we have, we've covered Kate.
Yeah. And a lot of other stuff.
And a lot of other stuff, too. But I do have some Tyler notes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yes, we'll get into Tyler. And we talked about the switch that, again, we've kind of talked a lot about that. As we first meet him, it's like, oh, they're douchey. They're in it for the money and the fame. They're clout chasing.
Jonas.
And Javi and his Stormpire team, they're, really trying to learn things so they can help people. And
well, I think that's what Javi wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you get the twist, of course, then that like Stormpire's, even though Javi had better intentions, it was like now at this point they're just corporate and using this info to help developers manipulate people and make more on their investments. And Tyler's YouTube fame and fun is actually bringing more awareness and community help, and there's actually better things coming from it. Yeah.
He's got a bigger heart.
Mm-hmm. Just a tiny little note that I love. Dexter. I love the character of Dexter. He's so much fun. He's just so excited. He's like the oldest guy on the team, but he's so excited about everything. And there's like this easily missed moment of when they're all at that first gas station and, they're kind of making fun of the Stormpire guys. Like, ooh, nice ironed, crease-free shirt. So you guys going to church, blah, blah, blah. And then as Dexter's walking in the door behind somebody, he just goes, Stormpire. And it's just like this weird throwaway little thing. But I was like, that's really funny to me.
Oh my gosh. I missed that. That is funny.
Yep. Just the way he robotically Stormpire. I was like, that's great. Oh. Yeah, I talked about Ben with being the journalist there. And I was like, I'm a little jealous. Actually sounds fun. The Tyler Owens effect, as Javi calls it, with all these amateur chasers all crowding around, watching his streams and then following the action so they can see the tornadoes themselves. Yeah, it's an issue with people like Reed Timmer and other chasers that on his streams there's literally a constant thing on the bottom that was like, yes, we have the GPS locations and coordinates pulled up. You can track him on a stream and know exactly where he is. Please don't. It's like we're doing that so that if he's chasing a tornado, people in the area know exactly where he is and where the tornado is so they can get to shelter and safety and they can keep a track on the storm. It's like, please don't follow him. Please don't bother him. Don't get in his way. He is in storm chase mode. Just because there are weird people out there. They'll be like, I'm going to go and get in the tornado with him. No. What are you doing?
No. Fanboys, they just sometimes go overboard.
It's like if he's streaming, don't track him down. Leave him alone. He's working.
He's working. But people don't look at it that way. They feel entitled to know and be part of the madness. Yeah, no, don't do that.
So I like that they had that little just throwaway thing in the movie of showing that as these the Tyler Owens effect. Like he says, all these other people are because he's there, these just random people are just showing up and getting in the way.
He did have a harem of people.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there. They were all just waiting for him to arrive. Yeah. It's like a musician when they arrive at the airport and the fans are already there screaming. I'm thinking about the Beatles. That's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, that sort of thing. Tyler coming out with his cowboy hat and his white t-shirt in the pouring rain, walking to his car. That to me was just okay. Yep, white t-shirt's gonna get wet, and this is, he's got the cowboy hat. It's the cowboy thing.
I mean, if you're gonna cast Glenn Powell in a movie as a cowboy, you better show it. you better make the best of it, right?
Peg, if that's making the best of it.
It was good to see Brandon Perea again in this movie as Boone, his kind of filmographer.
Oh, so great.
I love Brandon Perea. Fun. You can barely recognize him, but we did previously really enjoy his work as Angel in Nope, the kind of IT guy that installs the cameras and ends up getting drawn into...
That was Angel?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
Because his hair was all bleached out and...
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
He just likes doing movies that involve rodeos or...
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
This is the second one that we've covered with him in it. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
It's good there. Yeah. Intercept done well, Tyler. The fireworks are a brilliant touch. You feel it, chase it, baby. I'm quite a Tornado Wrangler fan. Especially the second watch, like knowing that he's like a really good guy, like then going back and like without having to wait for the twist, just being like, I'm just gonna be a fan of him the whole movie and I don't care. It's a great soundtrack to this movie. It's really fun.
I noticed that. A lot of country-ish music.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not my jam, but I did enjoy some of the songs.
It's a vibe.
It does add. It definitely adds. Yeah.
We have Lily on the team because this is my notes. We've talked a lot about Tyler, so I kind of have like his team thrown in here. Lily runs the drones for the team, which
Love
is
the drones.
Awesome. That's actually become a very important modern part of chaser work. I've seen some really cool drone footage. You can just fly them right in. It's cool.
I loved when Javi finally isn't going to take any more shit from Scott and basically stops the car after hearing Scott say this is good when he sees a tornado. After the electrical plant, he's already thinking in his head about, money and dollar signs and all of these things. And Tyler Javi just basically stops the vehicle.
Yeah. Well, they were supposed to stop and set up the scanner. And he's like, we need to stop right here, get the scanner, and hit. And he's like, no, we got to go to town. And really, it's the line that was the final straw. Is he was like, we've got to worry about the people. And Scott yells back at him, I don't care about the people. And that's where
that was it.
Something clicks in Javi's mind. He's like, fuck, that's correct. That what we're doing right now, that sums that up perfectly. We are not caring about people, and I'm not going to be a part of that anymore.
Yeah, I loved that. Loved it. There was a vibe, too, when they all get to the center of town. It's so overwhelming. Like, people are running and trying to be safe, and the tornado's coming, and it just is this chaos that they just take a second and show you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kate and Tyler are there, and they're just it's just chaos. They were in the center of town, and it's madness. Because the place was packed before, and there's no place to go, and, you know, the shelters are full, and, you know, what do you do? And they're just trying to save people.
Yeah. Back on some Tyler notes. I love that, like, he never really falls for Kate's tricks the whole movie. Like, he's good at this, too. He knows what he's doing. He'll sit there and talk to her, and, like, she'll say, oh, because of blah, 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 we can't go that. And then, like, in his head, he's like, I know what you're doing. And immediately, I was like, all right, so the thing she said not to do, she's going to do that, so let's also do that. Like, he never really falls for it, which kind of just shows, like, they're on an even playing field with each other.
Yeah, I like that, because they are it's presented that they're equals, and I like that, too, because often you get one or the other is superior, but they're really, like, it's a matter of mind melding between the two of them, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. So the augers are cool. I'm sure I mentioned that already, but I got another note, so I was like, yeah. See, I love that Glenn Powell is a native Texan. He still lives here in Texas now. So he carries that vibe really well in this movie. Like, it feels real because it is. He's familiar with the life that this character leads, at least culturally. I don't think he has any, and like, he hasn't done any storm chasing in his life, but like, but rodeos and Texas and that vibe and that culture, like, yeah, he's a native Texan through and through.
You know what's cool? When they were at the rodeo, his parents actually are seated behind him and Daisy Edgar Jones, who plays Kate.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But then I guess his parents appear in all of his movies. Like, whatever movie he's doing. Yeah, since he was in Spy Kids 3D, like way back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to go back. I remember going back and seeing a picture of him in Spy Kids when he's so young, and it's like...
people grow up.
Yeah.
People get older.
And then it makes me feel old because I was like, oh, he was like a kid in that movie. And like,
Pake,
I remember watching that movie.
He's not much older than you.
I know. It's, Let's see. Ben ending up wearing a button-up shirt and a cowboy hat might be the best arc of the whole movie. Also, he knows he does not want to ride in the truck with Tyler anymore.
Nope. Definitely not. He's figured it out. He knows that if he rides in that truck, he's probably going to end up at the end puking on the side of the road.
Yeah, but Ben is one of those very subtle character arcs that's in the background that I actually think is really great. Where, you know, we see him like stepping gingerly out of the truck and like avoiding puddles and like panicking to the moment that like he's in the fray. And like you said, he's got the cowboy hat and the shirt and, you know, everything on to even the point where they get to El Reno near the end of the movie. And he gets out of the truck with his camera, looks around, takes his camera off, sets it in the truck, and then just runs into the fray to start helping people. Them to, and it's honestly like, it's one of those little things that like, if you notice it, you're like, oh, they actually put some thought even into his character as it.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that showed a lot of growth in his character because instead of just thinking of himself and what he needed to be doing for his job, he was looking at, okay, that can be done at any time. Oh my God, this right here is serious. We're talking life and death, and we need to do what we can. You know what? It's magical. It's something about being around Tyler and his team that just makes everyone want to be good and do good things. It's just, it's infectious.
Let's see. I'm about done. Do I have any other notes? I have just a last little section about Javi and his team, but I think we've talked about most of it. I love that the Stormpar sensors are named Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Lion, and the computer they work with are Wizard, because it's all just in honor of Dorothy and the continuation of a legacy of equipment. It's too bad they were being used for some shady shit, but I liked the naming continuation. That was really fun.
Yeah, and I think the Dorothy at the beginning is Dorothy 5, which the original ones were Dorothy 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is like another version of Dorothy.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Anthony Ramos a whole lot, but he's incredible. I loved seeing, like, there's another one I was like, Anthony Ramos is in The Twisters. Like, in the new movie. I was like, I gotta see how he works with this. Because, I mean, my first introduction really to Anthony Ramos was Hamilton. As I think a lot of people's was. And then from there to another, Lin-Manuel Miranda thing with In the Heights. He was incredible in The Heights. So I'm used to him being like the musical guy with musical drama. And then to see him in this movie, I was like, God, he's so good.
I know. And it was cool to see him in something different. You know, something that's very intense. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next.
Yes, if you haven't watched In the Heights, you do need to do that. It's so good.
I have not seen it. It took me a long time to watch Hamilton, and then I did, and I was like, oh, but I like it.
Yeah,
it was
great.
Fun. But, you know, sometimes people get so hyped up on things that it takes the joy out of some of, you know, watching things for me is all the hype. But, you know, we have covered a movie that he was in before.
Yeah.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
King of the Monsters. So, but it was very cool to see him in this role.
Yeah, we talked about just the shady stuff going on with Stormpar, and then, Scott there at the end. So, I think, that's all the notes I have.
Is that all you have? Well, I have a couple of things. Just a couple of things. They did not go to New York City to film the scenes with Kate in New York City. They actually made over, I think it was Oklahoma City to resemble New York enough to get that those parts, those scenes filmed. There's a part where Kate says, "I'm not back." And that's an homage to Bill Paxton saying that because everyone kept saying, "Oh, welcome back. I'm not back."
Yep.
It's just a common thing. Glenn Powell actually kept the grill of the Dodge Ram that his character drives in the movie. He kept that and made a table out of it.
Uh-huh.
But he tried to keep the belt buckle, and the prop department called him and said, you have to return it.
So, sorry I lost it. I don't know what to tell you.
Because of all, like, the COVID-19 and then the strikes and everything, they were still filming this in December to February. Like, they were still filming, even though it had a July release.
Yeah. But
they were able to make it.
Post-production had some work to do.
Around the clock. Around the clock. Lee Isaac Chung really wanted it to be filmed in the Midwest because he grew up in the Midwest and he wanted it to have the authentic feel, which is very similar to what Jan de Bont wanted with the original. I
still feel like I would just call Oklahoma the South.
Oh my goodness.
Myself. I don't know. I'm not sure where like the lines are drawn, but I don't ever think of Oklahoma as Midwest ever.
Well, it's because Texas is so big and Texas is the South. Okay. The whole South is Texas. When we see that first tornado going through the town, there is a guy that picks up a coffee mug, and on the coffee mug is written Minari. So that was cool. And no, I didn't catch it. I happened to do a little bit of research in different things.
The same way that I do my synopsis finding. I just go to IMDb for the synopsis, and you go to the IMDb trivia page.
How do you know what I do? You're giving away my secrets, Pake. You're so bad.
IMDb is such a great place. It helps.
It is. It helps.
It's a magical land of movie knowledge.
It is. But that's not the only place I go to dig things out. I go to other places, too.
You ask Jeeves.
I don't ask Jeeves. Does Jeeves still exist?
I don't know.
Pake, you're going way back. That sounds like the time of like, MySpace.
Well, that's pre-MySpace.
Oh, Glenn Powell, this is his second sequel because he was in Top Gun Maverick also. Mm-hmm. And that was another one that came out, what? Oh my gosh, but that one was even longer. Like 30-something years after.
Mm-hmm. Which was also a really good movie, surprisingly, because I don't really care for the first Top Gun. It's don't come at me, people, but it's not that great of a movie. But Maverick was actually really good. I did enjoy Maverick a lot.
That is my era, Pake, and I'm probably breaking people's hearts, but I'm not a big fan of it. Like, maybe I was at the time, but I just have no interest in it now.
Yeah.
No. The last thing I'm going to say is Bill Paxton did try to get a sequel to this movie off the ground for years. He wanted to tell a different story. It just never really got anywhere. It was going to be titled Twister 3D, but it ended up getting canceled because, of course, Bill Paxton passed away in 2017. And they were going to have Helen Hunt. There were all these talks about Helen Hunt coming in and Joe and what would Joe be doing. Well, Joe could play Kate's mother. No. Joe would not be sitting at a farm. Joe would be out somewhere else. Like, she'd still be chasing tornadoes. Yeah. She wouldn't have stopped. So it just didn't work. They wanted to do something that's different. And I think they
honestly, I kind of like that. I love that it's just its own thing.
Mm-hmm. There are plenty of little love letters to the original film.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, like, a bona fide sequel. It can be standalone.
Yeah. I really like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Feedback phone going off right away. Man. Hopefully that means we got some good feedback for this one. People had some thoughts. Let's see.
I hope so.
All right, we do have a couple of pieces of feedback this week. First one coming from Catherine, of course. Has a lot to say on this one, which is awesome. Says, I went in with very low expectations, but was hooked in the first 15 minutes. I thought it would be like the Independence Day sequel with enough special effects to keep you entertained, but not much character connection. I was so wrong. I loved all the references to the original, like the Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Man teams, and I think Kate was dressed like Joe in one scene with the white tank and the shirt tied around her waist. The reporter reminded me of Melissa, but I was glad to see he stuck it out. The Mad Max tornado truck was awesome, even if anchoring in front of the airport was a bit silly. Fireworks in a tornado were probably silly too, but I enjoyed every second and laughed too hard when they went off accidentally later. I liked the strong focus on the science of tornadoes and the possibility of disrupting them, but made saving human life the priority. It's not as good as the original, of course, but I will happily watch both back to back in the future. I fully agree. Yeah, I think it holds up so well for sure. She just continued to say, so I started watching The Twisters, also a 2024 release, by mistake. Knew it was very, very, very wrong after the first minute, and while I attempted to finish it on 2 times speed while skipping a lot of dialogue scenes, I failed. It wasn't even good enough for sci-fi.
Oh no!
I have not even heard of that, and
I don't want to. I don't want to turn it on.
Just to say you're warning us from something to avoid. Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine, for the warning. You will save us from wasting even 5 minutes of our time. Well, Alma also wrote in. She said, I was sleeping on this movie, but I finally went to see it in the theater and loved it.
Yeah, it was. I think we mentioned this when I don't remember if we talked about this before recording or during the recording of the episode, but because you didn't go see it in theaters.
No, and I wish I had.
And I did, because I don't remember if we recorded this conversation or not. But yeah, I'm glad that I did, because this was definitely an awesome theater movie for sure.
Yeah. I wish I had seen it in the theater, because I can just imagine the surround sound, and yeah, I think it would have been super cool. My own mistake that I have to live with.
Forever and ever.
Yep. So if you'd like to submit feedback like Catherine or Alma, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast. You can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. If you are enjoying the show, tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need, and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
We do indeed. And of course, speaking of sharing the love, got to give those shout outs to things going on in the Podcastica universe around us. Yeah, a lot of great stuff going on over on The Cast of Us, previously a Walking Dead cast, still doing some Walking Dead stuff. Maybe be on the lookout for some Last of Us stuff coming up soon, though, because I know the Season 2 trailer did just drop. I haven't watched it and probably won't, but I know those who do enjoy it, maybe they'll talk about it. I don't know. They haven't even said anything about covering it, but
Jason does not like to watch trailers ahead of time, so I don't think.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
But it's out there, so definitely that conversation about that show is going to be getting more and more soon. So yeah, definitely check that out. But right now they've been doing the Walking Dead rewatch and stuff like that. They're going to be taking a little break from that. This week they put up kind of a catch-up episode for the first season of Daryl Dixon, because The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol is like the second season or whatever. But that comes out, actually, if you're listening to this, the day we release this, in like 2 days. Like this weekend, Sunday, the first episode is coming out. So yeah, they got a catch-up that's out now, and then they'll be diving right into season 2 right after it airs this weekend. So definitely stay tuned for that. Over on the Marvel TV cast, we have Jem and Penny covering Agatha All Along, the new Disney Plus limited series, which I'm absolutely loving. I think it's really great. Catherine Hahn is she's so special. So funny. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that show, so they'll be covering that over on the Marvel TV cast. I think the first episode's up now, so you go check that out as well as they go through that series. What is From cast? Because yes, finally, we talk about it so much, even in the off season. MGM Plus From is finally back for season 3. We had the first episode aired. Second episode will be this weekend as well. So make sure to check that out. Alex and Lizzie diving right back into that, full speed ahead. And they're also doing the immediate YouTube show as well. They're doing like immediate reaction YouTube videos over on the YouTube channel. And for this first episode, not only did they get on there and talk about the episode, but if you are one of the amazing, awesome, wonderful, incredible people who is watching from, then you would know the cast. They actually had Elizabeth Moy, who plays Mrs. Liu, Kenny's mom, on their after show to talk all kinds of stuff about her character and things working on the show in this season and previous stuff. So it's really cool to go check out. They had one of the most beloved people on that show right now to come on and talk about the episode right after. It's really, really cool. So definitely go check that out. And then if you haven't watched From, freaking watch From.
Yeah. It's such a great series. If you watched Lost, it's the same showrunners. And I feel like they learned something from doing Lost, because this show, while it has some of the same elements, it's even more. I would say that it's definitely really well constructed. Not that Lost wasn't, but they're doing a really good job with this, and more people should be watching it.
Yeah, it's good. It's picking up steam, but yeah, definitely check out From, and then What Is From cast, because they're doing an incredible job over there. Then for the cast of The Rings, which is, of course, covering the Amazon Prime Rings of Power TV show, Penny and Anwin continuing on through season 2 of that with their episode 6, Halls of Stone, coverage this week. You can go check that out as well on Podcastica. And then the Handmaid's Tale podcast has a new episode up this week as well, even though Handmaid's Tale not back yet, but just with the kind of political landscape and things right now, and election. It is an election year, election month, election day coming up sooner and sooner. I mean, yeah, within, just a little over a month away. So it's crazy to think about. So yeah, so if you're, politically minded in certain ways, then, definitely check out their episode they put over on the Handmaid's Tale podcast, just talking about a lot of just, the political landscape and ideas right now. So usually in Podcastica, not too much of a political podcast, but network, but over there for sure. An important one if you are more politically minded to go check out. And while I'm on that, because we haven't said anything, I kind of meant to, and I keep forgetting to, because as I mentioned, it is election day coming up soon. Here at Podcastico, no matter, what your beliefs, where you're going, make sure if you're living here in the United States, make sure your voice is heard, because it is very important. I mean, it seems like every election year is the most important election year ever, but it truly is. If you want your voice heard and you want to be able to have that, those conversations thoroughly, then be a part of it. Be a part of change or whatever you want to look forward to. So if you are not registered to vote, definitely do that. There's still time, and get it done. And yeah, go out, vote in November.
Yes.
Always just an important civil duty that I think way too many people take for granted so much. And it's something that we are very lucky to have the opportunity to do. So take advantage of it, people.
Yes, definitely.
But lastly, outside of that, and outside of podcast, could give some love to some other friends of ours. Of course, TV podcast industry is always doing the heavy lifting, covering all the great stuff, working hard. With Rings of Power and Agatha All Along, both being covered over there as well. So you can check out Derek and John and their coverage on TV Podcast Industries.
They're also, Pake, believe it or not, in addition, they're also covering The Penguin.
All right, there you go. Penguin as well. So yeah, check that out. DC people. Yeah, they've always done a lot of good DC stuff over there. So yeah, that makes sense for sure. Covering that.
They're very busy.
Yeah. And then if you want to hear more of me and Daphne for, whatever reason, you can always check out Buffalo, our podcast with Jeff and Jerry. We're just joking around, hanging out, playing games, doing goofy stuff. We're always having just a lot of fun over there. A little break from our usual TV and movie conversations. And just having fun. So yeah, definitely go check it out. Quick 30-minute episodes. I think we'll like it. If you like listening to this every week, if you enjoy our voices here, I'm sure you will enjoy hearing us there with our good friends, Jeff and Jerry. And then usually this is the point where I'd say, you can come back here next week and we'll have something for you, except you cannot. You are not allowed. Do not come back here next week. We will have nothing. for you. No, but for real, because we are taking the week off next week because we are having our own Podcastica meet up with hosts and some listeners and stuff. If you're part of like the Patreon group and stuff, I'm sure you've heard about it over the past year, really. So yeah, we are all getting together, a lot of us in Galveston, Texas this year, hang out, do some fun stuff. Go, we're gonna be like Ken in the Barbie movie. We're just, our job for the whole weekend is gonna be beach. So
yep.
We just have a fun time.
We're going to have such a great time. It's really a great opportunity to see people that you only get to hang out with maybe once a year. And so it's something we always look forward to. And it's going to be great because, well, we're going to record a little something while we're there, probably. Not for Run for Your Lives, but for Buffalo.
Yeah, so special stuff. But yeah, for Run for Your Lives, we decided we'll just kind of take the next week off. So go back and listen to some old episodes if you not fully caught up, or, share it with some friends, do something. But yeah, we'll be back because, just between recording and editing and feedback and posting and all that stuff, it's like we're going to be in vacation mode. So
yes.
We'll come back and do that again the week after.
Yeah, and you know what the cool thing is? And I'm just going to tease it. The episode that we're coming back with in 2 weeks is one that we don't really need any feedback for. It's one that's special and one that I think is going to give our audience more of a glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Of Run for Your Lives.
Something to look forward to for a little bit. Tease the palate there. I love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
With that, we've reached the end of another fun episode. Thanks for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.